What's going on? Welcome back to the Ovens Garage. Today we're here working on my wife's 2003 BMW X5 E53, and today we're going to be putting a catalytic converter on it. So I just recently installed headers onto this X5, and I didn't think that the smell was going to be as bad as it was, but essentially the fumes after deleting the cats from the stock exhaust manifolds, you could smell it in the cabin sometimes, and when you're sitting at a stoplight, even with the windows up. And you could also smell it after you park and get out of the vehicle. The stench kind of remained in the air a little bit unless there's a strong breeze. So I wasn't really a huge fan of that, but I am a big fan of having the high flow. So I'm keeping the headers on there, and what I'm going to be doing is installing an aftermarket higher flow catalytic converter from MagnaFlow. So this is the part number from MagnaFlow. It's a 94008, and essentially it's a dual inlet, dual outlet, because the outlet at the stock exhaust manifold or headers, they're very close together. So I got this dual inlet outlet catalytic converter, and I'll install it right after the exhaust or the outlet flanges from the headers, and I'll cut two pipes, weld it in. So here's the catalytic converter. There's the bottom. It's got a heat shield on, or sorry, I guess that's the bottom, facing towards the bottom of the vehicle. Okay, so you can see inside the catalytic converter here, it's open between the pipes there. So you've got one sort of longer length of the catalytic converter portion that goes from about there to there. And that should be enough to at least maintain our high flow. So it's straight through, but still get rid of the smell and be emissions compliant. Just a note, after I installed the headers in this vehicle, the check engine light did end up coming on. So what I'm going to be doing is installing a tune onto this vehicle. I'm first going to be installing the EU2 tune, which is the European version of the tunes that they installed into the M54. And it's the EU2 tune was a tune that did not have catalytic converters from the factory or a secondary air pump. So it'll turn off the check engine light when I install that tune. And it should also give us a little bit of a performance upgrade. After that, I'll be doing a separate video where I do a custom tune, but I'm not going to do that right away. But I'm going to be using MS4X as well as the Tuner Pro just to customize my own tune. All right, so I'm underneath the car here. You can see where I made the connections here for the headers. The E53 has a bit of a different connection point for standard like E46 headers, so I had to modify the mid pipe a little bit. So I've got the catalytic converter down here, and what I'm gonna do, at least my plan here, is I'm gonna cut just behind where this vibration damper is, cut those two, or at least I'm gonna hold this up, mark it on the front and the back of where it's gonna fit. I'm gonna cut those two locations while it's still in the car, hold it up there, tack it in place with the welder, drop the whole mid pipe and weld it solid completely around. All right, so I've got it tacked in place. I'm gonna drop the mid pipe now and we'll weld her solid. All right, so I've got the catalytic converter fully welded in here. It's a little bit of a pain in some spots because it didn't fit perfectly. It seems like one of these pipes is actually smaller than the other one. So there was a bit of a gap here. I kind of had to fill it. Not the most beautiful welds, but as long as there is no leaks, that is what is the most important. Get this mess cleaned up, and then we'll be able to bolt it back in the car. I got some new gaskets here too, just because I knew those ones that I took off were gonna kind of fall apart. So there we go, we'll get it back in the car. All right, so we've got the mid pipe back in, and you can see the new location for the catalytic converter. The only thing with this setup is I can no longer use that that piece that went from the mid pipe over to the transfer case here. So no big deal, shouldn't move that much. But right now I'm gonna let the RTV cure. You can see up there I've also plugged the factory O2 sensor locations, and I just put some anti-seize on those two plugs and tightened it up as tight as I could get it. So right now we'll let this RTV cure, then we'll fire it up and go for a test ride. so we finished our test drive here, and we can see that there's no check engine light or any weird lights on the dash. So that EU2 tune worked pretty well with the post-cat sensors deleted, as well as the secondary air pump deleted. So that's the complete install of the catalytic converter with headers on this E53 with the M54. If you're looking to do the same thing, hopefully this helps, and thanks for watching. Cheers.